Opening, we had f4 by Bobby Fischer, d5 by Nigel Short, and now Fischer plays king to f2. And Nigel explains this, and okay, this is a blitz game. But Nigel says that, well, after 1975, after Fischer went rogue, Fischer only played about 30 public games, and most of them were in his 1992 World Championship match against Boris Spassky. And well, let's just see the rest. We have knight to c6 by Short, and now Fischer plays something very rarely seen. He plays king to f3, and this is avoiding completely the entire modern chess history. We have e5, and Fischer plays c3, and this is practically inviting black to push the pawn on e4 and check the white king, but this isn't a very good move. So we have knight to f6 by Short, we have d3, bishop to e7, we have g3, castles, and now king to g2. And now, like I said, this doesn't have to be Fischer playing with the white pieces. But if you look at this position, black is much better here. And, well, Fischer used unorthodox openings in all 8 games. And whoever this person was actually managed to defeat Nigel Short with a result of 8-0. So, well, let's see the rest. We have e4. We have d4, h5, and Short has the right idea here, since White's moves with the king, he already played 3 moves with the king, are somewhat questionable. It's time to attack on the king side. We have e3, g6, we have h3, king to g7, c4, rook to g8, and now c5. Fischer completely blocks the queen side. And now Short gets another idea. Since the queen side probably won't open up, he will, well, he will continue with his attack on the king side. So rook to h8, we have knight to c3, bishop to e6, a3, queen to d7, bishop to b5, we have rook 8 to g8, b4, and now king to f8. And now both of these rooks are now ready to push the pawns. We have bishop to a4, g5, f captures on g5, and rook captures on g5, and b5, attacking the knight. We have knight to d8, and now Fischer is preparing this b6 thrust, but first he plays knight to g2 e2 to defend this g3 pawn. So we have rook h to g8, now doubling up and adding more pressure to this g3 square. We have b6, now opening up the attack on black's queen. So c6 is played, and now b captures on a7, and this is a very dangerous passed pawn Fischer has created. We have queen to c8, blocking, bishop to b3, queen to a8, preparing to capture the pawn, rook to b1, and now queen captures on a7, and rook to f1. We have queen back to a8, queen to e1, queen to c8, now attacking this h3 pawn, and well, it's not an easy task to defend this h3 pawn. So Fischer plays a brilliant move. I mean, whoever is playing with the white pieces plays a brilliant move. He plays knight to f4, and he defends h3, but is inviting black to capture on g3 and is preparing to part with his queen. So Nigel complies. He plays rook captures on g3 with check, and Fischer sacrifices the queen. Queen captures on g3, and we have rook captures on g3 with check. King captures on g3, and now bishop to f5. So bishop to d1, we have knight to e6, knight captures on h5, knight captures on h5, and now bishop captures on h5. And knight to g7, attacking that bishop, and bishop back to g4. We have bishop captures on g4, h captures on g4, and now queen to c7, and king to g2. And as you can see, this position is, well, black might be better here, but it's a bit easier to play this with white. But that's just the thing. Even if black is better here, which he kind of is, if he is playing against Fischer, Fischer is playing the strongest moves. So we have knight to e6, bishop to d2, knight g5, bishop to e1, we have knight to f3, and now rook to h1. And now Fischer is ready to infiltrate the last rank with rook to h8. So we have queen to d7, attacking the g4 pawn, now king to g3, defending, and bishop to d8. We have knight to e2, we have bishop checks on c7, knight to f4, and queen to e7. We have bishop to c3, And now this bishop to c3 move is, well, guarding against ideas like knight captures on d4 and pushing on e3, but also it completely, well, paralyzes this knight on f3. And, well, black could play something like knight to g5, but this would allow rook to h8 with check and then rook b to h1, and this would be extremely good for white. Although this is probably a drawn position, but white makes better moves. So black plays bishop captures on f4 with check. We have e captures on f4, and now king to g7. Short doesn't allow Fischer to play rook on h8 check. So we have a4. Fischer now completely transfers the play on the queen side. We have queen to c7, now rook to b6. We have f6, rook h to b1, and black couldn't defend this pawn. It was simply undefendable. So king to g6, we have rook captures on b7, now attacking the queen, and here, well, white is definitely winning here, and short plays queen to d8. And here Fischer actually has a forced checkmate in 5 moves. So feel free to check out the position, feel free to find checkmate on your own. It's a very nice checkmate. You know, pause the video and such. So those of you who were able to find the checkmate, I congratulate you, and those of you who are just here to enjoy, this is the sequence. We have f5 with check, king to g5, we have rook to g7 with check, king has to go to h6, now rook to g6 with check, the king is forced to h7, and now we have rook to h1, and this is